Hello, friends. It's SassafrasCast. How are we feeling? Hopefully, excellent. I'm so excited to be back streaming live. I didn't think I had to cancel. I was going to do this episode like last week, and then my computer gave me a pink screen of death, but now my computer is back. So let's get moving.
Oh, there's magic coming. Oh, there's magic coming. Oh, there's magic coming. Where you gonna be tonight? Oh, there's magic coming. Oh, there's magic coming. There's magic coming. Get ready for the rest of your life.
Hello and welcome to SassafrasCast. I am Rorie Kelly, a tarot reader, singer-songwriter, and all-around personal growth nerd from Long Island, New York. Hello and welcome. This is a podcast full of witchy insights to help you lead your sassiest life. In just a minute, I will begin the Witchy Weather Report. I will be doing that with the Wild Unknown Tarot by Kim Kranz, which I happen to love. I know people have mixed feelings about it. I think it's just nifty as heck. That's my official diagnosis, nifty as heck. But first, I'm going to give a shout out to my patrons. I have some new patrons that I'm so happy to have you aboard. Thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in. I see Judith and Anna in the chat. Thank you for hanging out with me, especially at this last minute rescheduled Sassafras cast. So for those who are listening at home, what you missed last week was me panicking the day I was supposed to record, which is 6 days ago. I can't believe it's only been 6 days, because I woke up, I was ready to record, I had the episode written on my computer, and I opened up said computer, and it gave me a pink screen of death, and it was horrible, and so I needed a whole new computer screen on my laptop, and I panicked, and I went to AppleCare, and I have to say, they over-delivered. I had a difficult time getting it to them, getting an appointment a week before Christmas at the Apple store, it was packed. But I did finally get to talk to someone and get my computer sent away for repair, and it came back faster than they said. And in addition to giving me a new screen, they gave me a new battery as well as a new keyboard without charging me any extra. So anyway, I just wanted to I know that's not on topic for the podcast, but I just want to say, had a really great experience, surprisingly, honestly, with Apple customer service, and really, really happy to have my laptop back so soon. So it's really funny because the last week has been things going wrong and then ungoing wrong. It's almost as if the universe is just ha ha ha, I got a little more in store for you in 2022. But you know what? Everything came out okay. Both my computer and my husband's phone experienced random screen breakages. I want to just say for a minute, I think it's really interesting how our technology reflects us, and we're talking about reflective magic today. So I'm going to go on this little tangent. I find that the things that are going on with my tech, with my phone, with my laptop, the tech that I use every day, often reflect what is going on with me. When there are times that I'm burning the candle at both ends, and I just feel I can't catch up my breath, and I'm overwhelmed and stressed, often what is also happening is my phone battery keeps dying. And I'm yeah, I know, I have no more energy left. Same phone, same. You know what I mean? And I think it's interesting that my husband and I both had screen problems in this last week. And a screen is the thing you kind of view the rest of the world through, right? The thing that taps you into information. And both of us had screen problems within days of each other that had to be sent out for repair. I don't really know what that says about us. As I'm saying this, I'm what does that mean? Does this mean our worldview is skewed? Does this mean we're not seeing things clearly? I'm not sure. But that happened. So I just think it's interesting to think about. Anyway, I want to give a shout out to my patrons. If you didn't know, you can support this podcast at patreon.com/Sassafras Tarot for $1 a month or more. I record these episodes live, and my patrons always get a private YouTube link before each one so they can tune in for the live broadcast, hang out in the chat, ask questions, and get them answered in real time, like get their comments and ideas right into the episode. If you are a regular listener to SassafrasCast, you know I have sometimes like brought something in that a patron has said, and it's been really useful. Visual keeps lagging. I'm so sorry. Maybe try refreshing. I have a wire connection and all those things, so I'm really sorry if the visual is being weird. Let's see. I have my camera thing open, and my priority is frame rate. And I don't know if that's good or bad. But I'm sorry. I'm hopeful that the replay will not be laggy like this, but I guess I'll find out later. Maybe it's the wind. Could be the wind. We have so much wind here in the Northeast. All right, let me shout out my patrons. I keep threatening to do it. Patrons get access to my Discord server, access to these, real-time broadcasts of SassafrasCast, which then goes out to everyone else a day or two later, as well as things like bonus episodes, depending on the level of support, and a shout out in every episode. Every patron gets shouted out. I don't just do the new patrons, whatever. Like, no, everyone gets a shout out. I love you all. Thank you, Amanda Little. Thank you, Rachel Miller. Thank you, Grayson. Thank you, Savannah Tillett. Thank you, B from Whimsical Weekend. Thank you, Milia Roscoe. Thank you, Ruby. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Hannah Westlock. Thank you, Brittany Campbell, our second Brittany. Big Brittany energy in my Patreon. Thank you, Ginger Dawn Studios. Thank you, Kevin P. Murphy. And thank you, Tiger Williams. I'm so, so grateful that you are in my world. I also want to shout out my music patrons, because that's my Sassafras Tarot patrons. I also have a Patreon for my music, and I always open up the $1 level to both. So if you support my tarot things, you get my $1 music benefits. If you support my music things, you get my $1 tarot benefits, because, why not? So thank you, music patrons. A couple of you are tuned in right now. I really appreciate it. All right, let's do the witchy weather report. This is the portion of the podcast. I feel like it's so funny, like I literally pre-wrote this whole episode for myself, so I should be good to go, but I'm a little bit like at loose ends. I guess it's been a wild week. So I'm going off book, and as a result, I'm less together than I could be, but you know what? What are you going to do? Let's do the witchy weather report. This is the moment where I pull a tarot card and reflect of the synchronicity of the moment and give everyone a little piece of guidance for the month. So as I share this information with you, today is 2 days past the winter solstice. As I record this, it's also a new moon. So talk about long, dark nights of the soul. The winter solstice is the longest night of the year, or the shortest day of the year. And new moons are the darkest nights, because we are not lit by the moon's reflective light. So it's really interesting that coincided for us, and I want to give a shout out to long dark nights of the soul as a positive thing. I don't think anyone's ever enjoyed having one in the history of long dark nights of the soul, but I also think that every time I have had one where I wake up or cannot get to sleep in the first place, and just find my brain roiling with what's going on in my life, what ends up happening is I realize by the time the sun rises what needs to be done. I realize what it is that is wrong, that is causing me to lay awake like this. And I find that if I am willing to do the thing, if I'm willing to take the steps, then things really change for the positive, and I feel grateful. So I feel grateful to long dark nights of the soul. They have created a lot of positive change in my life. And this kind of is the best time to have them. I don't know. Is there ever a good time to have one? It's the longest night and it's the darkest night. Or it's 2 days past both things. The winter is a good time for reflection, which is part of why I have chosen to make reflective magic my focus for this episode. It's a good time to think about the things that keep us up at night. It's a good time to think about the things we lose sleep over, because, hey, we got plenty of night to think about those things. It's a good time to be a little bit more introspective, to be a little more tucked into ourselves, to take loving care of ourselves. And in taking that care, we do open ourselves up to more understanding of some of maybe the tougher topics within our hearts that may be harder to address when we're rushing about in the hustle and bustle and don't feel like we have the bandwidth for it. Now I hope we can give ourselves the bandwidth. Let me pull a card for everybody. This card is intended to meet you wherever you are. If you are listening to this live, if you are listening to this a couple days from now, if you are listening to this forever from now, years from now, because you got into my podcast and you're listening back to the old podcast, if that's you, thank you. I love you. Wherever this finds you, my intention is that this card have relevance and importance for you in the moment, and I'm intending it to be a beacon of guidance to help us when we don't know how to move forward. Here is our card. Y'all, this card is the Nine of Wands. I want to show you what this looks like here. There's a staircase here. I love the staircase metaphor. It's not used in very many tarot decks. The Dragon Tarot also has a staircase metaphor for the Nine of Wands, and it really is to symbolize like you're almost there, you know, like you're getting there, you're almost there. Don't worry. The Nine of Wands can be a card. The flip side of the staircase is like, oh gosh, more stairs. Like I'm exhausted, right? You know what I mean? But the Nine of Wands really symbolizes for us that we have done the work, and if we just are willing to keep showing up, the seeds that we have planted are going to flourish. We just need to be willing to keep pushing through, and I know it's hard. There's always that part in the journey where you're like, okay, but am I done yet? Mom, are we there yet? You know, that is the feeling of the Nine of Wands, and I want to remind you that at the top of the stairs is the reason you're climbing them. Right? We don't just climb the stairs for no reason. We don't just start the journey for no reason. We do it because there's something that's so important to us. And you are going to get the thing that's so important to you, whether it's moving away from something that was negative in your life, whether it's moving towards something that's positive in your life, whether it's just creating the change and growth that you've been longing for. It's coming. Just keep walking. Just keep going up. You can only go up from here. I mean, you can go down, but don't do it. Keep going up. Keep going up those stairs. I believe in you. You have this. Speaking of the Witchy Weather Report, as you all know, I do a dedicated broadcast once a month called the Witchy Weather Report, where I pull cards for everyone, not just a general card, but anyone who tunes in, and I always give patrons first priority. That will be happening this coming Saturday, New Year's Eve. I feel like what a great time for a Witchy Weather Report. Usually it's the last Saturday of the month at 11 a.m. Sometimes I've had to move that around, and I appreciate everyone who's rolled with me on it. But this is going to be the last Saturday of the month and the last day of the year, and I think that's a really powerful time. So make sure you save the date. Tune in 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It will be on all of my Sassafras Tarot social channels. Here in the comments, we have Anna saying, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Yes, yes, that is the message of the Nine of Wands. Just keep swimming, baby. Just keep swimming. All right, hydration checkpoint. I'm going to take a sip of water, and then we're going to talk about reflective magic. I have been thinking a lot lately about how our culture emphasizes provable productivity over reflection and self-awareness. It is a set of values that puts a lot of pressure on us to perform and people please, all these P words, and direct our energy outward. But it's very challenging to be effective without the benefit of self-reflection and thoughtful, quiet periods where we don't have to provide external evidence of work being done. And in the same way that what appears to be an overnight success is usually actually years in the making, right? Like that's a phrase I've heard. The truth behind an overnight success is 10 years of hard work. Similarly, the ability to show up powerfully and create meaningful change and growth in our lives on the spot can only exist when it is supported by the internal work that tells us what change is meaningful. What direction do we want to grow? What can our personal gifts bring to the table? And a culture that makes less and less time for reflection leaves us in this mindset of endless grasping and posturing, and it runs the risk of swapping out real, true, meaningful, heart-centered growth for like this empty capitalistic push for constant expansion. Expansion and growth are not the same thing. Expansion is not always healthy. Sometimes we can overexpand and then we don't have room to continue expanding. We push other things out. Like these are the negative impacts, right, of our like capitalistic society, is that when everyone's pushing to constantly expand, some people get expanded upon, and then we don't have equality and we don't all get to access our needs, and it's not okay. We need to be able to reflect. We need to be able to reflect in order to allow ourselves and others to continue to be humans instead of production bots. We need to reflect in order to arrive at and consciously reaffirm the values that should be at the heart of our efforts. Who are we? Why are we doing this? I hope not just to say we could. You know what I mean? Let's lead lives. Life is short. Life is too short to do things that are not meaningful to you any more than you have to, because everyone has to sometimes. But life is too short to make that the center of your life. We need to be willing and be brave enough to lead lives that are going to be deeply, deeply heart-centered. And that requires a lot of bravery, because it's scary. It's scary to show our real heart to the world. To pause to reflect is a revolutionary act in a culture that demands that we always be on, performing, externally focused. To slow down is a revolutionary act in a culture that pressures us to constantly increase our output and efficiency. So I want to encourage us to reflect as we approach the end of a cycle. Not because it helps us move powerfully into the next cycle, but although it does, but because this is just a part of our lives that we deserve to live. We owe it to ourselves to take time to reflect. If we care about giving ourselves a meaningful life, I really hope that you care about giving yourself a meaningful life. I do. I care about me giving myself a meaningful life, and I care about you, listener, watcher, human experiencing this podcast. I care about you having a meaningful life. You have a right to one. That is my belief. So let's talk about tarot. The world comes at the end of the major arcana in tarot. This suggests to us that an important chapter is coming to a close. This is kind of funny in conjunction with what we just got for our guidance card this month, which is the Nine of Wands, which again is like a chapter coming to a close. The world's appearance does not advise us to just turn the page and move on to the next chapter. That would be indicated by the Fool or an Ace, cards that are about new beginnings. So rather, when we see the world, we are actually being asked to honor this moment and sit in it as an important and meaningful space to reflect. It gives us an opportunity to write our own epilogue, to tie up the loose ends, to give ourselves closure, because the universe does not give us closure. I can't tell you how many people, I'm a tarot reader, y'all. I can't tell you how many people come to me because they want closure in a relationship and they want to know, is he going to call me? Is she going to give me the closure I need? Are they ever going to answer my questions? And you know what I tell them is maybe not. I don't even have to open the deck to tell you that. If you are hoping for your closure from a third party, you may or may not get it, but you can always give yourself closure. And that is the message of the world, to give ourselves closure, to reflect compassionately on our journey and the feelings and experiences that it has brought to us. This can help us learn and grow and avoid repeating mistakes, yes, but I don't want us to rush into grading ourselves, because our point is not to award performance grades and it is not to punish shortcomings. The point is just to allow ourselves to own and absorb and heal from and celebrate all of the experiences that have affected us. I think this is a wonderful thing to do at the end of the year, but I also think it's a wonderful thing to do all the time, on the regularly. How much repressed pain and trauma could be avoided or reduced if we were willing to just sit with ourselves kindly during and after big chapters of our lives. Just sit with ourselves. It's not a big ask, you know? Just the way you might help someone who is grieving, or you might help someone who's going through a breakup. You wouldn't necessarily push them to do anything. You might just be there to hold their hand, to let them know that they're allowed to feel crappy, you know, to let them know that this too shall pass. What if we just sat with ourselves? What if we just let ourselves feel the shitty feelings the first time with kindness and with whatever safety net we could possibly offer ourselves, because we deserve that, instead of pushing down the shitty feelings to become our subconscious fear and pain stories? Of course, not always possible, right? Especially when it comes to like trauma and chaos. When we have tower episodes in our lives where things just dramatically change overnight for us, often not in a way that feels good, we don't always have the luxury of being like, let me sit and absorb my feelings right now. But how much more whole might we feel if, when we do have the chance, we did allow ourselves that space to just sit with what we felt and experienced, rather than pushing ourselves constantly on to the next thing. So I want to talk about a few ways to reflect that have helped me. I'm going to talk broadly about some different ideas around this topic about how to perform reflective magic. And this is a topic where you are the magic. This is a very inward focused type of magic and type of self-exploration. If you don't like the word magic, I really do like the word magic. I think we all have magic in us, power to change the world and power to change ourselves. And in some ways that is one and the same. This is a self-reflective magic. So we may call on external help. We may call on guides. We may call on real friends in our lives. We may call on energies beyond ourselves as we go through this process. But the core part of it, the core ingredient is us showing up with our whole hearts. So here are some ways to reflect that have helped me. Journaling. Journaling is everybody's favorite. It's my favorite because I love to write. I know not everyone likes to, and I know some people are not writers, or not even typers, and maybe they're more audio learners. So might I suggest journaling with like a vlog or journaling with like an audio memo? You know what I mean? There are many ways to journal. It doesn't have to be in a notebook. It doesn't have to be on your computer. There's a lot of ways to do it. Meditation, and in particular, the type of meditation that has helped me learn the most about myself is called Vipassana. Vipassana is a form of meditation where you observe your thoughts and feelings as they arrive, and you also allow them to move on as they go. They come, they arise, they show up, they move away naturally, and the point is not to hang on to them and not to judge them and not to hurry them on either. It is really, truly an inner listening experience. It is not about judging yourself. It is not about trying to change your thoughts, although you might find yourself having thoughts about trying to change your thoughts, and then that's another thought you can observe. It is not something to be mastered. It is something to be practiced. That is really important, I think. We don't have to master some things in life. They're not meant to be mastered. They're just meant to be practiced. That's the whole goal. If you're practicing, even if you're doing poorly, you're winning. I also love to take listening walks and listening drives, whether listening to myself or kind of the universe. Sometimes I will ask the universe to show me what I need to know. And I have some really interesting experiences when I do that, when I take a walk or take a drive, because inherently, as you do that, you're opening your mind to new stimuli. You know what I mean? You're moving, you're going to different places, you're changing your perspective very, very literally. And the things that I notice when I ask the universe to show me what's up, you know what I mean? Or ask my subconscious to show me what's up, depending on what I'm listening to that day.
WhatsApp is an instant messaging service for
Alexa, stop! Alexa just tried to explain to me what WhatsApp is. Oh boy. Maybe I should turn off Alexa before I do my podcasts. The things that I notice when I am asking the universe to show me what I need to pay attention to, really show a lot. You know, it's really interesting. I'll write stuff down if I'm walking and can safely do that. You know what I mean? Not if I'm driving. It's not safe to write things down while you drive. Or kind of like make a mental note, you know, of things that I see, and then I think about it later. And I try to see if there are any patterns, any metaphors. Often I have been given metaphors. Different ways of looking at the world that are like, hey, did you think about this? I remember very clearly at the beginning of fall of 2021, one recurring message that I got was things are not what they seem. And it was because that was what I kept seeing on my walks to my drive. It was things are not what they seem. I would think I saw one thing, and when I came closer it was something completely different. I would think I saw something that was like nervous making, you know what I mean? And then I would come and it would be like nothing, like thinking I saw a creepy man but it's actually a scarecrow, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Things are not what they seem was the message that I got repeatedly, and that was like important and useful for me to take that away as kind of a mantra in my life, to remind myself, hey, just take a couple steps back, because everything that you're experiencing right now might not be what it seems, and so it's worth really measuring your thoughts and measuring your actions. And that was really helpful to me. So that's kind of the power of a listening walk or a listening drive. Or I guess maybe you would call it a viewing walk, because often it's visual, what I see on those walks. Another great way to reflect is to create art. Art is an outward thing, not an inward thing, but any artist can tell you that art is also therapy. It's especially, and this might be counterintuitive, I find it to be especially meaningful if I'm looking to understand myself better, to create art from like a prompt. Because giving your mind a prompt, giving your mind just enough parameters, and then creating what comes out around us can often give us really interesting insights about like what's going on under the hood. I want to tell you all, I used to, I'm in therapy. I love therapy. I think everyone who can should be in therapy because it has helped me so much. My previous therapist, not my current therapist, was an art therapist, and I accidentally got an art therapist, y'all. I was just looking for a talk therapist because I knew I had some stuff to work through. And it was like I was trying to heal myself and trying to move on and be stronger. And then I remember the first time I just found her by reading her, bio on Psychology Today or something and reaching out and all of that. And I remember the first session she was like, "So I'm an art therapist." And I remember going like, "Oh man, I didn't come here to make a mural about my feelings." You know what I mean? Yeah, Anna is saying in the comments, image in the rear view mirror. Yeah, that's what it's about. So anyway, art therapy. She was like, "We're gonna do some art therapy," and I'm like, and it's so funny because I'm a singer-songwriter, right? I'm a musician. I think art really is like this high sacred form of communication with ourselves and with others, both at the same time, and that's what makes it sacred and magical. And at the same time, my therapist is like, "So we're gonna do art therapy," and I'm like, ugh, I just wanted to know what my feelings are and fix them. But you know what? Like some of the most incredibly powerful conversations we had were the art days, the days where she was like, I remember one time she had me make a doll, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, really? You're gonna make me make a doll?" And she like had like, there was like this little stuffed doll, and I was supposed to draw on it about how I felt. And I, as I was going like, "This is such a dumb exercise," you know what I mean? I was like pouring my heart onto that doll. And I remember that I drew a dividing line on the doll to represent like the me that I show the world, like the mask I feel I have to wear, the publicly acceptable me. And then on the other side, it was all like, I was going through a rough time, y'all. It was all like darkness and blood and pain and all the things that I didn't think I could let anybody see, you know? And so, I mean, she sold me, you know what I mean? She sold me on the art therapy. It taught me a lot about myself, and it made me realize, wow, I guess there is some stuff that came up from making this art. So make some art, if you are willing to make some art and just like see where it goes, instead of making art for public consumption just for the sake of making art, you might learn a real lot about yourself. Listening to yourself talk is also really powerful. I want to tell you about an app that I have been using called Voxer. Judith's in the chat, actually. I Vox with Judith all the time. I love Voxer. I love it both as a millennial who doesn't like the phone, and also as someone who is busy and wants to keep in touch with people that I love, and it's nice to be able to hear people's voices. And what it is it allows for asynchronous conversation. So you can record a message for your friend, and they can listen to it whenever they have time and record a reply to you. And this isn't like the most mind-blowing idea, you know what I mean? But like there's something, other apps have done this, other things can do this, but there's something about like, yeah, that's why we're here. We're just here to talk to each other and then listen to each other. And it forces you to take turns talking and listening, right? Often conversations are chaotic, and it's like, sometimes in a great way, right? Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, and then that makes me think of this, and like you're brainstorming together, and it's special. But it's special also to be able to deeply speak as well as deeply listen. And that's something that this app has given me with a couple of close friends, is enabling me to kind of deeply speak what's going on for me and also deeply listen to what's going on with them. And I hear myself reflected as I'm speaking, like I learn about myself. It is like I am journaling to my friend. You know what I mean? Listening to yourself talk can be a very, very powerful way to reflect. Tarot or other divination, I'm a big tarot nerd, so I had to have that in there. But I want to say, this is one of these things where the most important ingredient is you. We're not asking the universe, "What are you bringing me, universe?" We're asking the universe, what do I need to understand about myself? And then we're thinking about that. We're asking the tarot to be a mirror for us. I'm going to show you a little mirror ritual in a little while. That's going to be my witch you got this thing for today's broadcast. But I'll come back around to that. Prayer, conversations with guides or what you perceive to be the divine, or with your inner self. This is another way to reflect and to get to know yourself. And often I find if we allow ourselves, y'all know I'm pretty agnostic. I don't know who's on the other end of the call. You know what I mean? When I am praying or having a conversation with a god or a deity or an entity or a spirit that I work with or my inner self or my ancestors, I don't know who, if anyone, is on the other end of the call. I do know that those conversations are meaningful for me and help me understand myself and the world better and who I need to be in the world better, like my responsibilities to myself and others. You know what I mean? And I do know that when we are willing to enter into this idea of speaking with an invisible third party, whether or not we believe there's really someone on the other end, that an end result of that is that we get questions that we would not ordinarily pause to ask ourselves. We are challenged in a really positive way. We are challenged to think more deeply and consider things from another perspective, and that's really meaningful. And that has taught me a great deal about myself too. So I'll say it again. All these methods are only as good as the attention and willingness you bring them. When I trained to become a crisis counselor, that was something I did as a volunteer for several years at the Long Island Crisis Center, wonderful organization. When I trained to become a crisis counselor, one of the things we were taught about was the dangers of catharsis. Catharsis is one of the things that happens when we are experiencing something emotional and we talk about it, or we sing about it, or we lose our mind about it, like we like get the straw that broke the camel's back and kind of like let loose, or we cry about it. We feel better in the moment because we've just given voice to something that's been building up. There's a release of tension. We finally said it. We finally felt it. We finally let it come to the surface. But experiencing catharsis is only the first part of personal growth. The second part is reflecting on what have we learned from our cathartic experience and applying that knowledge. If our catharsis comes because we finally got it off our chest, right? We're like, yeah, I'm so upset about this, and I finally got to just say, yeah, you know what, I'm upset about it. We have to acknowledge that our next job is to ask ourselves what steps we can take to work on that upsetting situation. Because if we're venting and then doing nothing, that's just a cycle. We vent. We do nothing. The same situation persists. Tension builds. We need to vent again. Then we vent. Then we feel better. Then we do nothing. Right? It's a cycle. It's not helpful. We may not see an immediate way to fix everything, but that is not an excuse for us not to do anything. We need to bring a willingness to change just one thing about our approach. And I'm not telling you prescriptively what thing. It's just like, let's find one thing we can do. Maybe it's our attitude. Maybe it's resolving to ask a question of someone, or to respond differently next time someone brings something to us, or to research a topic to see if we might have resources we didn't know about. Maybe it's a conversation that needs to happen. Maybe it's a boundary we have to set. What's important is that we identify just one thing that we can do, small, instead of venting and doing nothing, which will guarantee that we just continue on the cycle. So finally, I want to bring us to which you got this. This is the section of the podcast where I share with you just one thing that you can take and apply and do in your life right now. Often it's a ritual, sometimes it's a tarot reading, sometimes it's an idea. Today, this is going to be a year-end mirror ritual. I'm excited about this. I am excited and nervous about mirror magic. Mirror magic, by the way, those two words just sound so cool and spooky and neat to me. And if you Google them or search them on Pinterest, you will find a lot of interesting stuff. I am by far not an expert, but I am an enthusiast. But I also want to say, am I the only one who gets a little bit freaked out by mirrors? Especially in the middle of the night, I get a case of nerves. If I'm going to the bathroom and it's 2 a.m. and it's dark, I avoid looking in the bathroom mirror. And I don't know why, but it really freaks me out. I get nerves about the idea of what if I look in there and I see something other than myself? It's just spooky, I don't know what I think I'm going to see, but I don't want to know either. Some people believe mirrors are portals. That also contributes significantly to my nerves about mirrors. But I also have to ask myself if some of my fear around mirrors is a reluctance to view something in myself. Maybe I'm afraid that I'll look in the mirror and not see a monster, but see that the monster is me. You know what I mean? See a darker part of my subconscious when my walls are down and it's the middle of the night and I'm not wearing any masks. Maybe I won't like what I see in myself. In this way, mirror work is also shadow work. Many of us are afraid of the darker parts of our own personality. So even though I'm a real chicken about mirrors, I want to do this mirror ritual because I'm excited about it. Let's do a safe mirror ritual with the lights on if you're me, because I get spooked really easily. Let's find a mirror. Any mirror. It could be one you get at the dollar store. It could be one that you maybe already have and you decide to repurpose. It could be your rear view mirror. If you have the time and you're a traveler like me and you want to do this in the car, I'm down for that. Like, do a rear view mirror ritual. I was thinking about that, and then Anna said, image in the rear view mirror in the chat, and it makes me feel like maybe I should do a dedicated rear view mirror ritual for my year-end ritual this year, because I spend way too much time in the car. So let's find a mirror, right? And then maybe let's bless it in our own fashion. And if you don't like the word bless, we could say maybe cleanse, or, you know, speak our intentions about this mirror. Maybe we do a smoke cleansing ritual. You know, maybe we burn some herbs that are protective, or maybe we say a prayer, or maybe we simply touch the mirror and we allow our own intention to flow into it. And our intention is that this mirror is here to show us information that we are on some level ready to work with. It is here to help us. It is not here to traumatize us. It is not here to frighten us. Healthy shadow work happens bit by bit. Then we want to infuse our mirror with loving, compassionate energy. Again, we could just do this by kind of sending that energy into the mirror, but we could also do fun, witchy things. We could like mist it or clean it with rose water. I love rose water, big fan. We could just hold onto the mirror while visualizing our intention and maybe even tracing a sigil on it, like a protective, loving sigil. We could wave it through incense smoke or above a candle. You can keep it simple. You can go all out. It's whatever is going to make it a meaningful ritual for you and a doable ritual. The best ritual is the one we actually do. So don't feel like there's pressure on you to do everything perfect. A done ritual is better than a not done ritual. Once you feel good about this, that your mirror is like, got this loving, protective energy, we're going to sit in a quiet space where we feel safe. You can keep the lights on. I will definitely be keeping the lights on because I get spooked about mirrors in dark rooms. Or you can turn them out if you feel like that's going to be a more meaningful experience for you, or you can be in candlelight. Nice little halfsy. It's about what feels right, and it's also about what feels safe, because we're doing this ritual from a place of feeling safe and supported, not from a place of like spookiness. This is not supposed to be a spooky ritual. This is not about Bloody Mary and you say it in the mirror 10 times. No. This is a ritual where we connect lovingly with ourselves. You're going to have a conversation with yourself in this mirror. You may wish to record it for posterity. I love technology. Technology has its place in witchcraft. It's very, very important. So if you feel like, oh, maybe I'll want to reflect on what I have said, now is a great time to, like, you know, get your voice memo app going or whatever, you know, like pop a camera on, whatever it is that's going to work for you if you want to record this. And that might be really meaningful for you to like look back on, especially after some time has passed. Here's how we're going to do our ritual. We're going to take a few deep breaths. While we look at our own reflection, we're just going to take a few breaths, communing with the reality of ourself. How often do you look at yourself the way you look at a friend during conversation? You know what I mean? When I look at my friends in conversation, I'm thinking a lot of things, and I'm listening to them too, of course, but a variety of thoughts come to my mind. I notice things about my friend. I'm like, oh, you know, my friend has such a great smile. Or I'm like, you know, I can really see how much she cares about this, you know? Or I'm like, I really like those glasses. I wonder where she got them. You know, like, we all have those kind of stream of consciousness thoughts as we're engaging with someone in our lives. We don't get to have those stream of consciousness thoughts about ourselves because for the most part, our interaction with mirrors and photos is, at least if you're me, like real practical. I'm like, do I look good in this? Is this good enough to post? Is this good enough to leave the house? Or is my hair a mess? You know what I mean? Do I need to fix my appearance in any way? But what if we just looked at each other in a way that wasn't grading our appearance, but simply taking ourselves in the way we take in a friend? In other words, getting past maybe the dysmorphia that we might feel around our appearance and just allowing ourselves to be a companion to ourselves. That's our goal with this ritual. With the finger of your dominant hand as you are breathing, trace your own name or initials over the mirror. And then I want you to trace a heart around your own face and visualize supportive, loving energy surrounding you as you do it. And sincerely wish yourself well. Don't put any conditions on it. Don't be like, oh, I wish you well, but don't forget you have to take the garbage out. Like, really just wish yourself well. Just wish yourself well, even if you forget your tasks. Wish yourself well, period. Now your job is to talk to yourself. No problem. I talk to myself all the time. Talk to yourself the way you might talk to an old friend. Like, maybe you run into an old friend doing like your holiday shopping, right? And you're like, wow, I haven't seen you in like a whole year. How are you? Let's go get coffee. It's a catch-up chat. But a catch-up chat with someone who's important to you, who has a little bit of an understanding about who you are and really cares, you know? Let mirror you know. Let your mirror self know what's going on in your life. Not just the surface. If you guys watch my live streams, my music live streams, you know that I always ask at the beginning of every single one, what's like, how are you feeling? And I want the real answer, not the polite answer. Do not give your mirror self the polite answer. Give it the real answer. What's going on in your life? How do you feel about it? What are your hopes and dreams? What were your hopes and dreams when you started the year? Did they change? Did life get topsy-turvy? Did they like get thrown out the window? Like, was it that topsy-turvy? Did you have to evolve? Did you have to change things about yourself or adjust your, trajectory throughout the year? How do you feel about the adjustments you had to make? Are there things you're proud of? Are there ways you surprised yourself? Were there situations that showed you actually needed to make a change in order to get back into your own integrity? This is a time to tell your mirror self all about those things. Your mirror self is listening and watching. Look her in the eye, or him, or them. Take as long as you need. And then ask your mirror self if they have anything to say to you. You are speaking now to an inner part of yourself. Maybe it's your shadow, maybe it's your subconscious or your inner child, or, some piece of who you are inside. Ask how they are feeling. Ask if they remember anything about this year differently than you remember it. Did they catch you like editing, like maybe telling the safe for public consumption story instead of the real truth? Is there anything that they think you need to understand better, or that they need you to think about more? This is a time to invite them to speak through you. And then listen and look them in the eye and really, really think about what they have to say. Show them respect and consideration, just as you would with an old friend that you really, really wanted to hear from. When both sides of yourself have had their say, it might feel like time to look forward. Are there things in your life that you would like to change? Are there ideas, situations, relationships, commitments that you want to evolve in a different way? Did you identify something you'd like to create in your life, and or something you'd like to leave behind and not take with you into the new year's? Interesting question. Are there any areas where you disagree with yourself? Now it is time to wish your mirror self goodbye lovingly, and you might want to set a date to check in with them again if this has been a meaningful experience. After you have ended your conversation, hold your hand lightly over the mirror for one complete breath in and out, to signify to yourself the end of the ritual. We need these markers in our mind to let us know we're doing a ritual, we're doing something meaningful, we're connecting with a deeper part of ourselves, and also now that time is done and it's safe for us to return to the real world. This helps us move through our lives. You might want to journal about what you just experienced, or you might want to listen back if you just recorded yourself. You also might feel like, nope, I'm super done. I just had a big talk. It was emotional and I need a break, or I need some food, or I need to stretch my legs. So do the thing that feels right to you. Honor it. You will probably know what you need in the moment. Let me know if you try this ritual at home, and if you do, let me know how it goes for you. I want to thank you for spending your time with me today. We are coming to the end of the podcast. I'm going to take you out with a song, and then I'm going to bid you adieu until next year. Oh my goodness. If you love this podcast, please rate it and review it wherever you listen to podcasts. That can be really, really meaningful. People who take a minute to write a review. I know it's takes a little extra time, but it really does help people who are looking at podcasts, who are thinking about listening to it. And it's a good free way to help a podcast you want to support. If you feel like there's someone who might really like this podcast, if you would take a minute and share it with someone, I'd be super grateful. If you do want to support this podcast financially and unlock the patron benefits, you can absolutely do that at patreon.com/sassafrastarot for $1 a month, or whatever you can afford. Patrons get access to extra content, personalized tarot pulls, a witchy Discord community, and more. If you have a question, idea, or suggestion, or want to send me hate mail or love letters, you can email me anytime at sassafrastarot@gmail.com. And you can follow me on social media at Sassafras Tarot on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. And that's spelled SassafrasTarot. I realize that I picked the two most difficult to spell words in the world to be my brand name. Good job, Rory. Also, if you want to order a reading, you can do that at etsy.com/shop/Sassafras Tarot. I'll let you know, I always do a guide card reading special offer at the beginning of the year. So if you would like me to pull a guide card for you, it's one card that is meant to be a beacon of wisdom for you throughout the year. It is not predictive. It's meant to help you. It's meant to be a guide to turn to when you don't know where to turn. When those times in the year come up that you're questioning, when you're having those long darts and nights of the soul, your guide card will tell you what to do, where your focus should be. I've been pulling guide cards for myself for a bunch of years. It's been super meaningful. This year, my guide card was the Tower, so that was a friggin' adventure. But you know what? I'm really grateful for it, and I'm really grateful that pulling it kind of gave me permission to dismantle things in my life that weren't working instead of continue to pretend that they were. That has been really powerful for me. And those of you who know me personally know that I've been on a little crusade of saying no to things since November. I did November, as in like, nope, just say no. And I've learned that a no is easier to take back than a yes. So that's also a thing that I have learned with the Tower as my guide card. So if you're interested, you could do that at my Etsy shop, etsy.com/shop/Sassafras Tarot. As always, I'm going to take you out with a song. If you like it, you can search for my music self wherever you listen to music. Rorie Kelly, RorieKelly. This is a song called Liminal Spaces. I think I've played this song once or twice on the podcast before. I'm no longer putting pressure on myself not to repeat songs. I'm just trying to choose the one that really fits the vibe. And I think that Liminal Spaces I wrote when I was reflecting in 2020 during quarantine. We were all forced into self-reflection in 2020, but you know what? That created a lot of positive change for me because it forced me to confront things that I didn't give time to in my busy day-to-day life. And I really feel like my trajectory shift as a result of that self-reflection has been a blessing. And I wrote this right while I was in it, in the middle of the journaling, in the middle of the reflection. I have a thing for liminal spaces. I get stuck inside them for ages. When you observe a particle, the particle changes. And no one's understanding when I change too, if you're looking. I had a book of dreams on my nightstand. I always thought that I'd come back for it. I had to prove I could do it my way. I had to prove that I could make rent. If you believe me the first time, it wouldn't have been so hard for me. Where are the moon sisters I was promised? Where is the music monk I never got to be? 'Cause I got stuck chasing love from somebody. 'Cause I got stuck trying to chase money. I have a thing for piano players. I try to learn from the things I am drawn to. I try to learn why the moth inside me lights this particular flame, so I don't get burned again. I have a notebook, so many it's embarrassing. I have a lot to say for someone so quiet people think that she's a stuck-up bitch until they get to know me. And by the time they get to know me, I'm attached even if it's wrong. Where is the Knight of Cups I was promised? I went all in and and all I got was this lousy discernment. Because I got stuck chasing love from somebody. Because I got stuck trying to chase money. It's too late now. You can never take it back. It's too late now. You can never get the years back. It's too late now. And the future looks exhausting. Where are the broken but good-hearted people? I feel myself changing into something I don't like. Because I got stuck chasing love from somebody. Because I got stuck trying to chase money. I have a thing for liminal spaces. I get stuck inside them for ages. When you observe a particle, the particle changes. You can barely recommend the particle that I've become. Thank you so much for spending time with me. My name is Rorie Kelly, and this has been SassafrasCast. I will see you again on SassafrasCast next year in 2023. Oh my goodness. I will also see you if you would like to tune in for the Witchy Weather Report on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2022, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I will pull a card for you. I will pull a card for my patrons. I will pull a card for anyone who's there as long as I can get to y'all in the time that is allotted. I'm really looking forward to it. And also, if you're a patron, I just want to let you know your bonus content will be available sometime in the next couple of days. I always take a few days now to produce this podcast because I find that that is just the way that it works with my busy life. So look for it sometime this week. Thank you so much for being in my life. I'm so, so grateful for you. Farewell. I'll see you again soon.